Hey there guys, Alex and Connor from UK Game Bureau. Today we are going to be reviewing UFC 3.
So you may have already seen on our channel, we did review the UFC beta when it came out back in December. Obviously now the full game has been out for about a week worldwide. If you have Champions Edition, it's been out a little longer.
Yeah, you've played it for ages.
Yeah, I've had quite a lot of experience with it. It's just going to be the full review now.
So how many hours did we end up putting into the beta? You probably put in quite a few. I mean, I played quite a few hours.
Yeah, you
myself.
played quite a few yourself. I'd say about 15.
So we had a good amount of
Yeah.
playtime to review the beta. There wasn't a lot to it, but obviously it's a
But
beta.
yeah.
It was more of like a completed beta. It was more of a demo than a beta because a lot of the game
Essentially,
was
yeah.
ready to go. It wasn't a sense of they were trying to develop it further, looking for feedback. You know, a lot of it was already there.
That being said, they did develop a lot of things on there. But I think a lot of it was it's a new control scheme for striking.
Yeah.
Just get it on there
Just get everyone used to
and
it.
learn what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with like a general comparison to UFC 2. Obviously, that wasn't out that long ago, so it's quite a short amount of time between games. How do you think it's? Do you think it's developed enough that it's worth of a new game, and do you think it's better?
Straight up answer the question, yes, it's developed a lot. It's a lot better, especially in the striking. The striking's had a complete overhaul. The main thing is lateral movement. Before, you're very stationary when you strike, so you're on the floor the whole time. This time, with your left analog stick, you move. So you can move striking backwards, going forwards,
Striking backwards
going
looks
left,
great
going
too.
right. Whereas in the previous UFC games, you have to stay still. Left is sort of what direction you want your punch. So you pulled it back if you want an uppercut, forward if you want a hook, etc. Whereas now, that left analog stick is just movement.
The striking looks awesome.
The striking looks great.
Considering that's the one thing, if ever I play this game, that's the one thing I do because I love knockout mode.
Yeah,
and I
a
love
lot of
striking.
people like the striking.
Striking's the best. For me, it's the best aspect. It's because the submission stuff in the ground game is so damn hard. But so when we reviewed the beta, obviously, and when we played it, we noticed that people bouncing, like their heads bounced around quite a lot off the canvas in particular.
Yeah,
Have they fixed those issues that we noted in the beta review?
it looks a lot better now.
Cleaner.
Obviously, yeah, in the beta, if you knock someone down and they're essentially out, you can finish them with strikes. And it's just like you're hitting the air above their head. You weren't making any connection. Whereas this time you're making full connections, their head's snapping back. It doesn't look amazing, but it looks a lot better.
Something that they've tidied up from the beta.
Exactly. You don't look at that and go, oh, that looks weird.
So they fixed the ground and pound finishes as well.
Ground pound finishes are fixed. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and so obviously in the beta we had quite a limited roster. It was only a few lightweights, I believe.
Yeah, there's
we
a few
had.
lightweights.
With the addition of the new roster, especially the addition of the guys that weren't in the last game, how are they looking? Are they playing good? Especially because we noted that someone like Nate Diaz. That had a very specific moveset, and he also had a very particular stance that was exactly like his. Is there that replicated in other fighters?
Well, first of all, the roster is bigger than ever. There's more fighters than any UFC game has before. There aren't as many legends in this game, which, you know, some people like, some people don't like. Obviously, in the last game, you had Mike Tyson's pre-order bonus, you had Sakuraba, you had Baz Rutten. This game, that isn't in there.
Could happen.
It could happen, they could have him in. I think it's unlikely.
I do too. I think they're trying to steer away from that.
Yeah, but as far as current roster, it's the biggest there's ever been.
It's pretty up to date.
Yeah, pretty much top 15 in every roster, other than like one or two exceptions.
Yeah, like really new guys that have only just come onto the scene that are doing really big things. They're not in it, but everyone else.
Exactly,
pretty good.
I'm sure they'll patch them in. But to go more onto the how they play, a lot of the fighters play exactly like themselves.
Okay,
I'd say
that's good.
I'd say in the rosters, in the divisions, about every one of the top 10 maybe plays like themselves.
Cool.
Obviously, if you go to some lower range fighters, they just sort of have like a general template.
Sure.
So they're like, I don't know, say they're a Muay Thai fighter, they should be a general Muay Thai fighter. They fight someone like Daniel Cormier, for example. He's going to be taking you down.
Yeah.
He's going to be clinching you up. He's going to be getting in close. He's going to fight like himself. He holds his hands like himself. It's also important to mention that when you create your own fighter, you can actually choose what they call personality.
Right.
This means you have all of their entrance,
Okay.
and it also means you have when they win. So if someone always jumps up on the cage, they do that. Not sure if you know about Ben Rothwell. He likes to dance after he wins.
Yeah.
You can do that.
But like Valentina Shevchenko, she dances.
She does that little dance. You can do that.
That's pretty cool.
Stuff like
They've
that.
taken that quite. That's it to me. Having played a lot of WWE games, that's a very WWE thing.
It is, and as well as that, you can also have your stance like a UFC fighter. So say you want to make like a karate guy, You can have Wonder Boy stance.
All right. If you want to fight with your shoulders forward and very boxy, Nate Diaz, that sort of thing.
Exactly like that. So a lot of these fighters, they fight like themselves.
Cool.
They look like themselves. They hold themselves like themselves.
That's what you'd hope, really. It's good.
It is what you hope for.
It's good they've put the effort in to CG enough fighters clearly to be able to replicate that in the game.
As far as they look, a lot of their faces are dead on.
Yeah.
Except they've done motion capture, a lot of facial recognition for most of these guys.
Sure. I'd be really interested to see, so it's something we could keep an eye on for sure as they update the game, is if a fighter that perhaps isn't very highly ranked or unranked at all right now, if in the next year they do really great things, I'd love to see them update that fighter so that their moves and their stance and their entrance is in it. That'd be cool.
That would be great.
Probably possible too, because the guys are just, they're shells at the end of the day, especially when you've got the lower ranked guys and the unranked guys. They are just default fighters with an appearance on them that's somewhat accurate. It'd be great if they could then go in, CG a moveset, CG a stance and animations that they could then put to that fighter.
Oh, they've already done that with a few people. Darren Till and Justin Gaethje have already been added to the game. They weren't originally in pre-release. On the first day one patch, I believe they were added in. Justin Gaethje has his own signature block, which is unique to him.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
so they
obviously
can
he fights
do
like
that.
himself. If you have a creative person, you choose Justin Gaethje, you also get that unique block.
But you got to think, did they have those ready before the game came out, and they always intended to release those fighters with it? What I'm saying is it'd be interesting if you could play as a fighter now that is just default, and then later they added it.
Okay, so say like
fighter.
say someone who's like maybe top 20 now.
Yeah.
Not really anyone.
Next
in the next
year,
6 months, he just absolutely bangs some people out. Yeah.
You want, say if this guy that we don't even know who this guy is yet, but say if this guy ends up doing really, really well and he's special in one area or does this really weird thing that's very particular to him, it'd be cool if they could then go and add that to his fighter.
What I do know they are doing is they are changing stats after each event.
Yeah.
So Francis Ngannou, for example, obviously he fought Stipe Miocic not too long ago. He gassed out relatively early, and on the game they have knocked his stamina down a few.
It's good.
A few ratings, which is good.
Also means there's opportunity for guys with crazy high stats to go higher. People that have got great stats and are really happy about their stats, for them to climb even higher.
Exactly, especially someone like DC who's going up to heavyweight soon.
Yeah.
If he, for example, knocked out Stipe Miocic early, I'm sure his stats would get a rise as well.
Yeah,
where Stipe would go down.
Has anyone in the game got any 100 ratings? Is that a thing? 100, I'm assuming, is the max,
so,
right?
no. Yeah, 100's a max.
Okay.
Obviously,
could be 99.
There's 4 main stats.
Yep.
There's your striking, your grappling, your health, and your stamina. But within all of those, there's separate stats.
Sure.
So I can't tell you directly.
They break down. Yeah.
But I'd imagine some maybe like a Jacare Souza of a Doom has maybe 100 submission offense, something like that.
Okay, but say I have like micro 100s, but no one has.
Yeah, but no one has a flat out. You are 100. I think the closest is maybe a Conor McGregor striking.
Yeah, or you'd hope Demetrius Johnson would be the closest person.
I think he's one of the best all-round guys.
Yeah, you'd think, being number 1 pound for pound and still undefeated. Okay, let's get on to the new fight modes in the game. Obviously, when we had the beta, we were very limited in what we had. I think we had Fight Now, which is sort of like the exhibition mode. We had like a quick online mode, and we also had Ultimate Team and Knockout mode, which I played a lot of because I love Knockout mode.
Yes, we had those 4 modes. Obviously, Fight Now is very basic. You also got to remember we only had those limited amount of lightweight fighters.
Yeah, very short roster at the time.
So, as well as only having that one lightweight division, you didn't get to feel how the other divisions felt. What I say now is the heavy weights, or heavier weights I should say, they feel a lot slower and a lot more powerful.
Yep.
Whereas if you play as a flyweight, there's so much speed, you can throw combos so fast, but it's going to take a lot to put someone out.
Yeah.
Which I feel is very realistic.
That's
if
good.
you look at the actual UFC and MMA itself.
Yeah.
Heavyweights tend to deliver a lot of knockouts,
Yep.
whereas flyweights tend to be more decisions.
Okay, so talk us through the rest of the games, the modes that they've had, because they were all greyed out at the time, so we were like, oh, these look interesting, but we couldn't really explore any of them, so talk us through what has been added.
KO mode was also in the Ultimate Team mode, it was also in the beta mode.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same it was now, the same as it was in UFC 2. Obviously this time the edition, Snoop Dogg is the commentator for it. You turn him on and off depending on what you like.
I'm a big fan.
He is quite entertaining, I will admit.
Yeah, he's got a good script of sayings as well. Snoop Dogg's good fun.
But as well as this, they have added 2 more modes, which are Stand and Bang and your Submission Showdown.
Okay.
So what this is it's just like a normal UFC fight. If you say pick Stand and Bang, there's no grappling at all, it's just striking. But it's different to KO mode in that it's not like after 10 hits, oh, you're knocked out. It's just like a normal fight in the UFC, but you're just standing up.
We're striking. Because
Yeah.
that's the big thing in KO mode especially, is you can block infinitely.
Yeah.
And you don't really take much damage to your arms, but in like a fight down mode, you do, obviously arm damage is a thing. If you block too much, your arm
It's
strength goes
essentially
down.
an MMA fight, except you never go to the ground.
Yeah, which for me, perfect.
Submission showdown, complete opposite.
Opposite. That makes sense.
You're only grappling, only submissions. Which I quite like that they've done that. Because a lot of people, I don't really like grappling. I just want to stand up, but I don't want to do this knockout mode.
Yeah.
There you go. A lot of people, I'm not too sure how to do submissions. I want to get some practice in. Let's go submission showdown against, I don't know, one of the best submission guys.
Damien Meyer or someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's practice. So I think mainly the stand and bang submission showdown, that'd use a lot more sort of
I like training.
train yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Do you have the option to enter those modes online? Can you go in like a submission showdown?
No, you can't, unfortunately.
That's a shame, because it'd be good to, if you want to practice really against someone online in one area.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. That'd be a cool
Of course, you
addition.
can do it local multiplayer if you have
True.
2 controllers
That's
and a
true.
friend.
Yeah, just set those stipulations yourself, I guess. But it would be cool if they added that into an online
Yeah, I
mode.
like that. I quite like KO mode online as well. I
Is
think
that
that'd be
online?
insane. No, it's not.
They would
I think that'd be entertaining.
Definitely, yeah. I wonder why that's not. That seems like a popular choice to... That'd be interesting. Hopefully we see that in maybe a future update. And then the rest of the fight modes, they're all taken from the last UFC game, I'm assuming, right? So we obviously standing bang, submission showdown. We got career mode, which we're doing a little series on the channel at the moment. We've got the ultimate team, tournament mode, custom events, live events, ranked championships, and like an online quick fight as well, which we mentioned.
But all of those were in the previous game except tournament mode.
Except tournament mode. Okay.
So that was in the old Undisputed UFC games, but it's new to the EA Sports. In short, you can have a 4-person, an 8-person, or a 16-person tournament, and you can decide yourself whether damage continues. So as if it'd be like sort of a one-night tournament. Say you have one fight and the guy's getting absolutely just destroyed, knocked down all over the place, then he gets a win. His next fight he's going to go in, his chin is going to be destroyed. He's going to have to fight really carefully.
Okay, so it's similar to the longevity in career mode.
Yeah, in a way.
Very similar to how that carries over.
Or you could turn that off if you don't want that, you just want to run a normal tournament.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but tournament mode is new. I'm quite happy to see it in a UFC game.
Yeah, because the old ones were some of your favourites, right? So it's
They were,
cool to see something
yeah.
adapted from the old games. It
Exactly.
shows that they're not scared to take things that worked, because that's often a problem we see, is especially with like, I don't know, THQ and then EA games,
Yeah.
like the WWE series, they've tried to go so far away from the older games, even though in some cases a lot of them were considerably better. So it's good that UFC is taking
Exactly,
that
yeah.
stance.
Especially with WWE, you see, instead of them building on the base they had, they're just like, oh, let's take it somewhere completely new.
Yeah.
Which I think they did in the first EA game as well for UFC.
Yeah.
It was a good game. It didn't feel like progression.
Sure.
It just felt different.
Right.
Whereas now I feel like, after this being the third game, there's progression each time,
Which
as
is-
opposed to,
yeah.
let's build a new game.
Which is what you want, because you're spending a lot of money on a game that lasts
Yeah.
1, maybe 2 years at the end of the day, because they get old quick, the fighting games.
They
Same
do.
with the FIFA and same with NFL, all those sports games in general get old very quickly. So it's good that they're progressing.
Exactly, and they can get outdated as well, for rosters as well, if they're not
Yeah.
constantly updated.
And graphically too, like the graphics change, and often the sports games do end
That's
up
true.
looking the best. Like FIFA, you think 2004 to 2014 in FIFA.
But with
Crazy.
FIFA as well, you've got to consider how long EA have had that license. They're not building a new game every time. They're slowly just improving things.
Yeah.
They're adding a few things. They're not just taking something down, building it from scratch.
Which is what we're saying here.
Which is what we had to do originally.
Yeah, okay. So a little gripe that we have with the game is on the commentary team.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got the addition of John Anik in this version of the game.
Yep.
We had him in the beta as well, and he
did.
sounds great. New script recorded. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, from what I hear, has not done any new lines for this game at all. And when you listen to the game, it's very clear that he hasn't done that.
Yeah, we noted this in our beta review.
Yeah,
we
we
said you noted, because obviously you played it a lot more than I have. You noted that Rogan's lines seemed very similar, and there was a laugh in particular that sounded like it was in the same place almost that there wasn't in the last game. So it's sad to see that he's not recording any new stuff.
What I will say is, if you haven't played the previous game, you'll notice nothing.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
That's true.
But if you've played the last game, especially a lot, you will hear the same recycled lines, which is a
Yeah.
bit of a shame.
It's not a determining factor on buying the game at all, so it's not.
No,
an
it's just like a
issue.
little side note of
Yeah.
something that is going on.
So any glitches that you noticed in the beta? Obviously, we noted the bouncing the heads off the canvases looked a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Anything else you notice it's changed or they've improved on?
Or sometimes when you got very, very close to your opponent, in clinch distance but you weren't clinching, sometimes it just bug out a little bit. Like it'd be hard to punch someone, or try and punch someone like hit their elbow or something like that. That's pretty much gone away.
Okay.
They seem to have fixed that. There are a few still little bugs, like when you connect with a kick, for example, and it hits your shoulder, but you get knocked out.
Yeah. And we had that just recently in a video
we did
where I threw a head kick and it hit an armpit and knocked someone out.
Yeah, in my Road to Black belt as well, I knocked a guy out of an uppercut. It didn't actually land.
Right.
I hit him with a jab, which seemed like it knocked him out. When I hit him with the uppercut, which just didn't land. The commentary's like, oh, what a huge uppercut. So there's a few little things like that.
Check us out self-promoting our videos.
Yeah, I know. Such a dirty little self-plug, wasn't it?
It was.
But the thing is, these things can happen, but they're very few and far between. It's not like the last game where you'd knock someone out and they go flying across the octagon. Like, there were so many glitches in the last game, people just flying around everywhere because of their ragdoll system. I have not experienced that. I haven't seen anyone else experience that.
Good.
So I hope that's gone.
Yeah, okay, so clinch mode. I know that was something on the beta that you perhaps weren't the biggest fan of. You hoped it would change. Oh, clinch mode, the clinching, you're right. You hoped it would change a little bit. Don't think it has it?
In short, I see no way it's changed from the previous game.
That's a shame.
The only way I see it has changed, which is a bit of a negative, is that if you get strikes when you're in the clinch, you can't transition. Right. So say, for example, I'm in a single collar clinch. I'm going to get the Muay Thai clinch. In real life, I can do that, especially if my opponent's striking me. If my opponent, for example, throws a left body hook to me, and I try and get into the Muay Thai clinch, I'm going to get that easily because his hand's down. But in this game, if he touches me, then it just instantly stops the transition I'm attempting, which I really don't like. I feel like if you're in the clinch, you should be able to eat a few punches to be able to get a position.
Yeah.
Same on the ground as well. If you're trying to transition on the ground, you get hit once, it stops your transition.
Yeah, because there's very few moves that can be completely interrupted or stalled in life. So it's kind of only unless you're being completely overwhelmed or smothered.
Well, if you look in real life, in the mount position especially, if a guy's just laying on your mount, it's very hard to get him off. The best time to actually escape the mount is when someone's hitting you, because they're up in the air, they're postured up, and they've only got maybe only one hand, if at all, actually on the ground. So it's very easy to be able to worm your way out, slip out. Whereas on the game, you hit one punch, you just stop transitioning.
Right.
So I feel like some improvement could be done like that.
Okay.
Because right now, if you've taken a bit of damage to the head, you're in full mount and you're getting hit, it's fight over. Yep. Whereas in real life, maybe not. In real life, you can eat one or two punches to try and get out of it.
To me, that seems like a big addition that I don't think they'd make this late into.
I don't think they would either.
That's a big choice that they've made at some point and pretty permanent, I would have thought.
It does.
But hey, updates are updates. They can change.
Updates are updates.
They can change
never
a big
know.
thing. Yeah. And what about submissions? Obviously, we just covered clinching. How are the submissions? They change. Obviously, a lot different. On that.
In the beta, they were near impossible to escape, and almost as hard to attempt yourself.
They've got easy submission mode as well. That wasn't in the game before.
They have what's called simple submission now.
Simple submission. Sorry. Yes.
I'll be honest. I find it harder.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really ironic.
But you've got the hang of the actual submission and have done for a few.
I suppose, but with a simple submission, all you need to do is tap A.
Yep. Good
You and your opponent you just spam tap A.
I can do that.
But the speed you need to tap it to escape,
it's pretty outrageous.
Is ridiculous.
So like someone with a turbo controller, for instance, would
you can't do simple submission online.
That's awful.
You can only do it against the AI.
That's me done.
But I mean, on hard difficulty, which is actually the medium difficulty on this game, I've struggled to escape submissions from non-submission artists.
Oh, okay.
It's very hard.
What a shame.
But yeah, in the beta, it was very hard to escape. What I think they've done is, in the previous game, it was very easy to escape submissions, sort of as they're first attempted. So say someone's going to go for a rear naked choke, they've got sort of one arm just around your neck. You can escape right then. Whereas this time, I feel like you can't do it straight away. You have to wait until sort of like the third, fourth stage of a submission to actually escape it.
Yeah, they've developed the stages a lot.
Which is
better.
Both good and bad. Because obviously it's very unrealistic. You're always getting out of submission straight away. But at the same time, there's some submissions which are maybe only one, possibly two stages. Which means they're near impossible to get out of.
Okay.
I'll throw one at you. If you're on the back clinch, you can then attempt a Kimura. It's a one-stage submission.
Right.
It's obviously very hard to get that submission, but if you have it, you've essentially won the fight.
Sure.
Because it's near impossible to get out of that, unless your opponent makes a mistake.
Which can happen.
It can happen, but with one stage, I don't like that. It should be, in my mind, the smaller amount of stages there are, the easier it should be to get out.
Definitely, yeah, I agree. That sounds.
Whereas if it's a 5-stage submission, make it harder to get out because you have more time.
Definitely, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Having not done the submission system on the game, only a few times I've tried it. That
Yeah.
makes a lot. You saying that makes a lot of sense. So yeah.
What I will say is they've definitely toned down difficulty a lot from the beta, which was a needed change because it's
probably
near
they
impossible.
noticed that from. I imagine they've got the stats on who wins and losses from that, and they probably
a lot of people
noticed.
were sort of complaining and moaning about that.
That's
as
why
well.
betas are good. They get those kinks out for when people want to.
I will give them credit; they've changed a lot of things for the better.
Good. Okay. So obviously we mentioned, just to wrap up, we mentioned the heads bouncing off the canvases in the beta looked a little funny.
Yeah.
We also noticed that the sort of body shots, not body shots, but the gloves connecting with the head and body.
Yeah.
That looked a little ropey perhaps in the beta. How is that? Is that looking a lot better now, do you think? Graphically, I suppose.
Yeah, it looks perfect now. I think that was just a little bit of fine tuning they need to do.
Yeah.
From what I've read, because I've read a lot of forum posts on this from the actual developers, I think a lot of things they knew they had to do a bit of fine tuning on.
Right.
But they didn't do it yet because they just wanted to throw the beta out and get the real improvements done.
Cool.
If they knew it was going to take, I don't know, say a week to fine tune this, they knew they were going to do that anyway, so they're just going to throw it out anyway. Any comments about that, they'll ignore because they're going to do it anyway.
Right.
They wanted to focus more on the actual issues that people had, such as the submission system.
Cool. And it worked because they
And it
improved
worked.
those areas that you weren't happy with in many cases.
Now, speaking of forums, a gripe a lot of people have, which I personally don't mind, is that every clean knockout on this game is a walk-off KO. In every other previous UFC game, if you knocked your opponent out, you can sort of jump on your opponent, land 1 or 2 after. You can't do that anymore.
Okay.
As soon as your opponent's knocked out, that's done, it's over.
Sure.
Which personally I don't mind, but it's not... I see what people are saying, it's not very realistic.
Yeah.
So if you look at any normal UFC or MMA fight, person gets knocked out, person follows them to the ground, maybe lands 1 or 2.
Even with a great ref in the ring, more
Exactly.
often than not does a person jump on the person.
Yeah, whereas
to
in
get
this
them off.
game, every fighter's Mark Hunt. One shot, walk off.
The Super Samoan, yeah.
So I'm saying, if you're a big fan of realism, you might not like that.
Okay, that's interesting. Right. So if I were to say to you, you've got to rate out of 10 the very first UFC game,
Okay.
what would you rate it out of 10?
Are we talking about after all the patches, or are we talking straight as
The
it came
game
out?
as it is now.
Game as it is now, very first one, I'll say maybe like a 5.
5, okay. UFC 2?
UFC 2, it made some improvements, but it definitely felt sort of like UFC 1.5.
Right,
I'll be honest.
so what would you rate it out of 10?
Probably 6, 6.5.
Okay, and then what would you rate the UFC 3 beta?
UFC Beta. Oh, I think I'd... Yeah, I'm going to go for a 6.5 as well.
Okay.
Purely because the striking was very improved, but with the grappling and the clinch being essentially useless in that beta, I can't really put it any higher.
Okay. And then how would you rate, obviously, the full game as it is now, and then how high do you think it could go in your estimations with some added improvements that we've just sort of gone through?
Personally, I'd put it at a 7.5, which might sound a bit harsh, but it's very hard to get a near perfect MMA game.
Yeah, sports game in general, right?
Sports game in general,
It's
but if you
hard
look
to-
at MMA, there's so many different, obviously, martial arts, funnily enough.
aspects of it.
Exactly, it's so hard to get them all right.
Sure.
I feel like this game is a big step in the right direction,
Yep.
but it's still got some ways to go.
What would you rate it out of 10?
Yeah,
7.5.
7.5.
Cool. That's a good score. I think it's got room
That's
to
what I mean.
improve
I
too.
think the striking, pretty much, it's done.
It's good.
Essentially.
Especially
They
with
can
the graphics improvements
Exactly.
as well.
They can make a few little tunes, a few little changes to it. That's pretty much done.
Great.
The grappling and the clinch needs to be changed for the next game.
Happy days.
So that's not going to be done now. They've tuned it so it's okay now. But in EA Sports UFC 4, whenever that comes out, they need a big overhaul in the clinch.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, that's the wrap up of the review of UFC 3. That's what we think of the game. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. If you're enjoying it, not enjoying it, if you agree with some of the points we've brought up here, we'd love to know what you think. Please, if you enjoyed the video, do like and subscribe to the channel. We've got UFC videos coming out all the time, and please come back for more videos very soon.